Hello, and welcome to Workshop Wednesday. My name is Michelle Washington, and I am the instructional coordinator of the Austin Community College Fashion Incubator. Well, last time we had a great introduction to stitch types, and that was about the ISO and stitches that are described by stitch drawings, which really helps us in our technical packages. But now let's talk about seams. So, what are the difference between seams and stitches? Well, seams and stitches are related to each other, as seams cannot be held together without a stitch. So the seam joins between the two or more plies of fabric, pieces of material, whereas the stitch is formed by one or more threads or loops of threads. I think we need to take a closer look at this. So let's get into it, shall we? So once again, we're going to rely on the helpful visuals from AME, and that's AMEFIRD.com. Great visuals to show us exactly what our ISO seams and stitches look like. And as you can see, there's a lot of information here. My goodness. So when you take a closer look, you can see that there are seams for attach and edge stitch, bag seam, bagging, welt pockets. Well, you'll need to take time to really explore this on your own because it's a lot of information here. But you really need to look at the great drawings. Seam drawings, here we are. And these also have numbers and ISO number. This first one that we're looking at, it's a common application column, binding carpets with selvage edge binding. And you can see this really great drawing of where the stitch and the layers of the fabric are coming together. Let me get a better close-up of this for you. There you go. Now, you can see the stitch and how the plies of fabric are coming together. This is a 751 small case A number, BSA. And then we also have the ISO, the number for it. Now, there are common applications. They call this stitch in a ditch, top stitching, waistband and stitch line on top of previous seam line. Here's some other stitch drawings. Now keep in mind, with some of your own clothing, you have probably seen all of these stitches and didn't realize it. And keep your same watchful eye over clothing that you buy and that you just are curious how those seams came together. Now, the next one is also a BSA, ISO number, common application. You can read right here, sleeve binding on undershirts. That would be one common application. Now this one, going over into the next column, right underneath when we talked about stitch in the ditch, which is top stitch hidden in seam line, you'll see sewn in two operations. This one is what we call the mock clean finish binding. Notice how the layer of fabric is, I'll say, sandwiched in between the fold of this fabric as it folds over to encase this fabric that would have a raw edge, but it's going to give it a mock clean finish binding. So at this point, you're seeing how this fabric is about to have binding of another fabric. And the red is the indication of the stitches that helps that come together. You see how detailed seam drawings can really help get the details correct to your designs or your samples. And especially when you want to use that for a technical package, it's going to improve the quality so much more. And when you ask for a certain seam or a certain finish, it's right there. It's well drawn, well described, and all you have to do is communicate that to whichever factory is putting together your sample or your garments. Now, here is another, well, there's actually quite a few seams. Let's go down to the 2-needle hem. Now, I know you may have seen this, especially with polo shirts and t-shirts. Take a look at the t-shirts that you have now, and you'll find this 2-needle hem. Doesn't this look familiar right in this area? And then the red indicates the connection of the thread. Thread on top here, indicated by sewing through with the red. Same, parallel. Now, again, hemming t-shirts, polo shirts, generally sewn with a 406 stitch. So it's very descriptive. Now, you may have also remembered when I was talking about ISO that I may have mentioned a ISO stitch that included belt loops. Well, here it is. In the layering of the fabric and the actual stitch, you can see how that comes together. And that's for making belt loops for jeans and casual pants and shorts. These are all things that you may have not only in your closet, but you've seen on a daily basis and didn't even know it. Let's go to another page. Now, more seam drawings, and this is going to be commonplace for serging pants, panels, flies, facing. This one, for example, you have heard the term serging more than once, or if it's your first time and you're going through the applications of construction, then you're probably hearing this term, which is an industry term, often, serging. So you can see the thread connection in red, and you can see the edge. Serging pants, panels, flies, and facing. Here's also serge and hem. Notice how you have the flatness of the fabric and a slight curl. This one, serging edges of napkins, sheer curtains. Another one, hem and insert. Notice the fold again and the connection of the thread. Hem and insert elastic to infant panties. Well, this is one of those applications that are used, is an easy use in this construction. And you can see different versions as we move further down the chart. Tunneled elastic, also hem and insert elastic. This is a really detailed and also efficient way of sewing this particular seam application. So each one of the seam drawings, very detailed. We can go to the next row and you can see making for straps or belts with clean finish. You can also see different versions of how to finish that making of the straps. So you have more than one way to choose from. But these are definitely some of the best methods to show exactly how you want to sew and finish your garment. Here's one, making of the spaghetti strap. I'm sure you've seen and heard of the spaghetti strap, so you can see this here. Many details and many pages in very detailed drawings. You've also heard of the felled seam, patch pocket setting, yoking, seam, and cord seam. A lot of details, lots of benefits to using some of these ISO numbers to help your manufacturers know exactly the kind of details that you want for your garment. Wow, was that a lot of information? Yes, it was. But it's important to know the difference between seams and stitches and that they are related to each other. We love sharing this kind of information with you. So if you have any questions, please feel free to email us at fashion.incubator@austincc.com. Join us next time for more Workshop Wednesday. We really enjoy making these presentations, and also stay tuned to our social media as well as our website to get the updates on more upcoming classes and events. See you next time.